There is nothing funny about betrayal unless you count the cruel joke of falling in love with the wrong person at the wrong time. Maybe it was fate, or maybe I was just too weak. But either way, I never imagined the story of US would unravel like this. New York never sleeps, but loneliness does. It grows in the shadows of skyscrapers, waiting to crawl into your bed at night. That loneliness was my closest companion while Ryan was away, month after month, chasing deals and deadlines across the country. He said he was doing it for us, for the future we dreamed of, but dreams lose their shine when you're eating dinner alone, staring at your own reflection in the window. Ryan was my first great love, the kind that swallows you whole, the kind you believe will outlast everything. We met during college in Boston, and from the first time he smiled at me across a crowded library, I knew I would follow him anywhere. He was ambitious, sharp, charismatic. People gravitated toward him, but when his eyes fell on me, it was like the rest of the world disappeared. For years, I believed that was enough. But belief has a cruel way of turning to doubt when silence fills the space love once occupied. He promised he would come back, always promising, always packing another suitcase with another deadline written all over it. I believed. I waited. Until I didn't. The night it began was ordinary, which makes it feel all the more sinful. His colleague, Daniel, had stopped by the apartment to drop off some files Ryan had forgotten before leaving for Chicago. We shared a bottle of wine. Because what else do you do with the weight of unfinished conversations pressing in on you? He laughed at my stupid jokes, listened without glancing at his phone, and for the first time in weeks, I felt seen. It started with fingertips brushing as he handed me a glass. The kind of touch you could dismiss if you wanted to. But I didn't want to. Not that night. His hand lingered, and my chest tightened with both guilt and craving. By the time he kissed me, gentle but sure, I wasn't thinking about right or wrong anymore. I was thinking about how human skin could feel like salvation. I told myself it was just loneliness, a single night blurred by wine and silence. But Daniel came back, again and again, and I didn't stop him. Every time he knocked, I opened the door. Every time he touched me, I let him, until waiting for Ryan no longer felt like love, it felt like a sentence. When Ryan finally returned 3 months later, suitcase rolling over the hardwood, his smile wide with relief and devotion, I thought my heart would split in two. He wrapped his arms around me, whispering how much he had missed me, how every night away was worth it because he knew I was here waiting. The irony sliced through me like glass, because I wasn't his anymore. Not completely. Daniel's scent was still clinging to my sheets. I wish I could tell you betrayal feels glamorous, like in the movies full of passion and dangerous kisses. But in reality, it's messy. It's guilt dripping into your morning coffee. It's flinching when your partner touches you. It's memorizing lies so you don't trip over them later. Love triangles aren't romantic. They're wars fought inside your chest, tearing you apart with every stolen moment. But the cruelest part wasn't the guilt, it was the truth I was too afraid to admit. That somewhere along the way, my heart had begun to choose Daniel. Not just out of loneliness, not just out of proximity, but because he saw me in a way Ryan no longer did. He looked at me like I was the answer, not the obligation. I tried to bury it, to convince myself it was temporary. That once Ryan was home for good, once we fell back into our routines, everything would go back to the way it used to be. But time doesn't rewind, and people don't unfeel what they felt. Every touch from Ryan reminded me of Daniel. Every kiss from Daniel reminded me of what I was stealing. The night everything came crashing down started with laughter. We were all at a company party downtown Ryan, proud and glowing, introducing me as his partner, his future, his everything. And Daniel, across the room, his eyes locking on mine like the room was empty. One glance, one heartbeat too long, and Ryan noticed. His smile faltered, just for a second, but it was enough. Later that night, when the party faded and the city lights blurred behind car windows, Ryan asked me the question I had been dreading. Is there something you're not telling me? His voice was calm, too calm, the way people sound when they already know the answer but still hope to be proven wrong. My silence was the confession. The air between us cracked open. He didn't shout. He didn't break anything. He just looked at me like I had taken the world we built together and set it on fire. His hands trembled, not with anger, but with something worse, disbelief. Him? He whispered, as if Daniel's name alone was poison. I wanted to explain, to say it wasn't what it looked like, but lies taste bitter when the truth is lodged in your throat. I loved Ryan, but I was falling in love with Daniel too. And love, as it turns out, can be both salvation and destruction. Ryan didn't sleep that night, and neither did I. The silence between us was heavier than any argument could have been. I lay awake, watching the shadows crawl across our ceiling, knowing the life we built together was breaking apart in real time. The clock ticked, relentless, as though mocking me for every second I failed to fix what I had shattered. By morning, he was gone. No note, no message, just the lingering echo of our history in every corner of the apartment. I wanted to call him, to beg, to explain, but what explanation could erase the truth? Love once betrayed doesn't heal with words. Daniel came later that day, as if he had sensed the storm. He stepped inside cautiously, his eyes searching mine for answers I wasn't ready to give. He knows? I whispered, and just like that, the fragile illusion we had built together cracked wide open. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I couldn't let him hold me while Ryan's absence still burned in my chest. The weeks that followed were brutal. Ryan stopped answering my calls. His colleagues spoke in hushed tones when I walked into their office building, the kind of whispers that stick like barbed wire. I felt like a ghost in a city I used to belong to. Daniel stayed close, steady as always, but I saw the guilt in his eyes. He had wanted me, yes, but not at this cost. One rainy night, unable to take the silence anymore, I went to find Ryan. His apartment lights were on, but he didn't open the door. So I waited, drenched, until he finally appeared in the hallway, his expression unreadable. "You ruined me," he said softly, and I flinched because it wasn't anger, it was heartbreak. "I never wanted to hurt you," I pleaded, the rain dripping off my hair, clinging to my skin like cold confession. "But you did," he replied, and the way his voice cracked felt like a blade. "I believed in us. I built my whole damn future around us. And while I was out there fighting for it, he stopped, swallowing hard. "You gave yourself away." I cried then, not because of guilt, I had already been drowning in that, but because I realized nothing I could say would bring him back to me. Some losses are final, even when love is still alive. We parted ways that night, not with screaming, not with closure, but with silence that would haunt me for years. He walked away, and I let him because for once I had to stop being selfish. And yet, life doesn't pause for grief. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, the ache of Ryan's absence dulled into something bearable. I found myself spending more time with Daniel, not in stolen moments but in open ones, coffee on Sunday mornings, long walks through Central Park, late-night talks on the fire escape about the kind of men we wanted to be. He never tried to replace Ryan. He never demanded I erase my past. Instead, he gave me space to grieve, and in that space, something new and fragile began to bloom. But love born from ashes carries its own tests. One evening, while we were cooking together in the small kitchen, Daniel put down the knife, turned to me and asked, "Do you ever think you'll forgive yourself?" The question pierced me. I wanted to lie, to tell him yes, that time heals everything. But honesty was the only way forward now. "I don't know," I admitted. "Some days, I think I don't deserve to." He touched my cheek, gentle, his thumb brushing against the scar of my guilt. "You don't have to deserve love to need it. You just have to choose it." That was the moment I realized Daniel wasn't just filling Ryan's absence, was showing me a love that could survive imperfection. A love that could hold both the mistakes and the hope for something better. Months later, Ryan and I crossed paths again at a friend's gathering. The wound between us had scabbed over, though the scar remained. We stepped outside for air, just the two of us under the pale city lights. He looked older, more tired, but there was still that fire in his eyes I had once fallen for. "How are you?" he asked, his voice steady, stripped of bitterness. "I'm trying," I replied honestly. He nodded. "Good. That's all you can do. We didn't talk about Daniel. We didn't rehash the past. We just stood there, two men who had once been everything to each other, now bound only by the memory of what could have been. And for the first time, I felt peace. Because some loves aren't meant to last forever, they're meant to teach us how to love better the next time. Daniel and I didn't have a fairy tale beginning, but maybe that's why our story mattered more. We chose each other not in perfection, but in the aftermath of mistakes. Love didn't erase the guilt, but it gave me something stronger to hold on to. Forgiveness, for myself and for the broken pieces of my past. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, painting the sky in shades of golden fire, Daniel pulled me close on the rooftop of our building. The city hummed below us, alive and endless. You know, he murmured, I don't care how our story started. I just care that it's still going. I leaned into him, my heart steady for the first time in a long time. Me too. And maybe that's the truth of love. It's not about promises that last forever, but about choosing each other every single day, even when the world has given you every reason to walk away. We kissed then, not with the desperation of stolen moments, but with the quiet certainty of two men who had walked through fire and still found their way to each other. And in that kiss, I knew the story wasn't about betrayal anymore. It was about survival, forgiveness, and the kind of love that grows in the cracks of broken things. Because sometimes the happiest endings are the ones you never expected to write. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.